Greetings. After a hiatus, however you say it, from my channels, I think it's time for me to do an introduction of the new Chip. So I'll start by saying I'm Chip. I do publish on two different channels. One is CP59 Fit, Unconventional Healthy Living Strategies, where I talk about a near-death experience I had 9 years ago now, what I've learned from it, and how I can share what I've learned to help you hopefully live a healthier, unconventional, healthy life. Channel number 2 is Chillin' with Chip. Since I've been a digital nomad for almost 2 years now, that kind of covers my travel. I haven't been on either channel, and I actually am not using my phone tonight. I'll get into that in just a minute, but now I can have my notes on my phone, so if I'm looking down, I have a bit of an outline I want to go over. Because I have been absent so long, if you're not on social with me, then you don't know what's been happening and why I've been off. Let me start with that I went to Denver in February of 2023, basically to attend the Low Carb Denver conference at the Gaylord Rocky Mountain something or other resort center, and I had a house sit about a mile away. Fortunately, at that event, I was able to meet a friend from Dr. Hardy's AMP program that I'd been in for about 18 months up to that time. But both me and the person I met had not renewed for 2023, but we were still in touch. So she was starting out on low carb or trying to do low carb or something. So she came to the conference with me, which was absolutely wonderful. I should turn this phone so it stays on longer before I'm gonna put it on Do Not Disturb also so I don't get any calls. Anyway, I had never ridden Amtrak other than some test runs. So I go off to Denver on this long distance train ride, and I got to Denver all right. You have to connect in Chicago both ways. So I spent the night in an Airbnb in Chicago in February, and at the same one in March coming back. All of that was fine. Getting to and from Denver really wasn't a problem, or to and from Chicago, I should say. The Chicago to DC trip, we were behind a CSX freight train, and this was when all the trains were derailing in Ohio and causing massive pandemonium. Well, it's about a 24-hour ride the way I was coming from Chicago to DC through the New River Gorge in West Virginia. And most of you did not even hear about the train derailment in the New River Gorge. Unfortunately, I had firsthand front row seats at it because the Amtrak was behind. I thought I had a line going down my face. I don't know what it'd be from. But anyway, the Amtrak train, number 50, the Cardinal, which goes through the New River Gorge, which I understand is beautiful, and that's why I took that train, because I wanted to see it from the train. Well, we parked at 6 o'clock in the morning. We had left Chicago 6 o'clock the night before at Huntington, West Virginia. All of us were asleep, so they park and make an announcement that we're going to be parking here for a while because the train in front of us, the CSX freight train that was empty coal cars, had derailed. Hit a boulder. Apparently a boulder had rolled down the mountain. You know all those signs you see on the highways, falling rock? Well, it happens on railroad tracks too. So, but this was a big enough boulder to knock a freight train off the track into the river. And from my understanding is that one of the conductors actually passed away from burns. I guess the engine caught on fire. I don't think the engine actually went in the river, but it was kind of on the bank, and many of the cars behind it fell in the river. We never got up there to see it. But that was kind of the beginning of the derailment of my low-carb journey for 2023. I won't go into all the details. I probably will make a video about that episode at some point. But I will tell you that after sitting there for another 12 hours or more, they took us the 12 hours back to Chicago, and we stayed. They put us in a hotel. I think it was 2 nights. Then we went up the northern route, like through Pennsylvania, I think, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and back into D.C. through Maryland to get home 3 or 4 days behind schedule. Okay. I'm still doing, of course, I'm coming home from a house sit. Fortunately, I didn't have another one booked right away. I was going to spend some time with Mom and Dad. Beginning of January, or beginning of 2023, Mom had started having these revolving door hospital visits. She'd get out, and the visit actually made her worse, and then she'd have to go back, and they'd have to fix whatever they did wrong to her. The previous week, she was in the hospital, so that was bad news. But the second event, I'm still doing house sitting, but fairly close. I think the furthest away I went was Tennessee, and that's where I'm heading after Denver. I could drive there. It's about 6 hours. Right across the line from Virginia was where I was going, a town called Elizabethton. And I'll be back there a couple more times this year. But anyway, I was there over my birthday, which is at the end of April. And I had just dropped below 200 pounds, which was a goal. It's not the ultimate goal. I have about 15 pounds to go from there. And then my birthday hit, and of course, I generally celebrate my birthday with food, and maybe foods I shouldn't eat if I'm going to claim to be a carnivore. Anyway, after the derailment, and eating pizza and subs is what they provide, and then Chicago, you got to get a deep dish pizza, right? Well, one of them would probably have been sufficient, but I think I ended up with 3 or 4 in the time I was there, because you had to have it with everybody you went to. So I had the birthday celebration, and then shortly after that, I got an email from my father. It went to me, my brother, and my sister, stating that Mom had gone to the doctor on the campus of their senior community, and the doctor had mentioned that it might be the time to consider bringing in hospice care. So Dad, my light is doing funny things. I think I have a wire about to break. Anyway, as long as it doesn't affect my what you see of me, and I can actually see myself on this camera, which I'll get to in just a second. So Dad sent an email to the kids, asking us what we thought, and in a rare event, all 3 of us agreed that we thought it was probably a good thing to do to bring in some professional help, so Dad wasn't bearing the whole brunt of the thing. I mean, I was in the area off and on. My sisters and my brother are both fairly close by, so they're in the area off and on. But day to day, it was Dad's problem. So anyway, needless to say, that did not make me jump back on the bandwagon of fixing my own health when you realize your mother is terminal and may only have 6 months to live. I was back here, I say here, I'm in their apartment now, Dad's apartment now, because I really thought it was time to get a video out. I've been a little bit too long on the break, but I also have had, hey, you'll see, give me just a second to get through these other bullet points. Okay, by Mother's Day, which is the middle of March, we were having the meeting with the doctor, and Mom agreed, was fully cognizant, and made the decision she would go into hospice willingly. There was an error in sending the fax. They never got it or lost it or something, so I had to go to another house before hospice actually came for the evaluation. Mom was still doing fairly well at this point. In fact, on Memorial Day, she had started hospice, and I had gotten back home. In fact, my godmother had come because my sister kind of thought Mom only had a couple days left. So she kind of set the alarm bells off, and my godmother from Jacksonville actually got here before I did from Williamsburg, which is a 3-hour drive. I was at a house sit there, and I knew it would be ending. I didn't leave early. I mean, maybe a few hours as the dog parents were on the way home, but it was all agreed upon. And so my brother and his wife and children came down with 2 of their newer children. Mom was sitting in the recliner, afternoon of Memorial Day, holding the new great-grandbaby. And the hospital bed was delivered by hospice Memorial Day, Monday, a holiday. Good for them. And they were setting it up by the time my brother and sister-in-law left. Mom got in it that night and barely got out of it until she passed, which I'll get to that in just a moment. Okay, around that time, Memorial Day, early June, I made 2 investments. 3, actually. I don't think I wrote the third one down. I bought a cabin pass, annual cabin pass with the 1,000 Trails Campground Network. And the rule of it is you can book a stay up to 60 days in advance, and you can have 2 stays on the books at a time. But you can only stay in a campground, in a cabin, for up to 7 days, 2 to 7 days. Then you have to be out of the campground for 14 days, 2 weeks. Then you can go to that same campground or another. There's 127 of them around the country. For another week, 2 to 7 days. Minimum of 2, maximum of 7. And so when you do all the math, if you're there every 3rd week, you could actually use this pass 17 times in a 52-week year, which for me, it was about the same price as a month's rent in Fort Worth. So I thought, getting, 3 weeks for a month's rent, not 3 weeks, 3 months. 3 months for a month's rent. That's pretty good. So I bought that. I will be talking about that more later because I'm actually working on becoming an affiliate with them, so I'll get a little bit of credit for anybody that buys one through my referral. I'm not going to go into that today. And I also had met a man named Dr. Anthony Chafee at Low Carb Denver 2023. I knew Dr. Westman there, and Dr. Ken Berry was also there, and Dr. Tro, and lots of other people. But Dr. Chafee Dr. Sean Baker, him and Anthony are great big muscular guys that only eat meat. So good inspiration, and both of them were very nice, but I just thought Dr. Chafee was unusually nice for such a big person and a doctor. So anyway, I joined his Patreon group around June, and that gives me a group voice Zoom, I was going to say voicemail, but group Zoom call with him where I can ask questions, and I'll get into some of that later. Not in this video, but in other videos. But I really enjoyed that. And the third thing I did, it may not have been, what is this, August? It may have been June, it may have been July, I don't remember. I bought a GoPro Black Hero 9 or Hero 9 Black, I don't know how it goes, but that's what I'm using today, so I can actually see myself. And my seatmate on the train wreck train had been a YouTuber and had one and told me I should get one. Looked into it and he was right. So hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully it's clear. Hopefully it doesn't overheat. I've heard that this is actually the first video that I think will actually make it live. I have made 2 or 3 videos in this time to try to bring you up to date, but things have been changing so quickly. I either didn't like them or I didn't get them up. So this is at least the 3rd try. So anyway, my mother ended up passing on July 17th, 2023. I was at a house in Fredericksburg, but I kind of knew when I left that time that she wasn't going to be here because she'd been in the hospital bed since Memorial Day. So all of June, half of July, and she really wasn't eating or even drinking at this point. So, I said my goodbyes, and I was well aware that she probably would have passed by the time I got home, and she was, and and the homeowner was like, well, if you have to leave, leave. Most of the people on the Trusted House Sitters side have been very understanding and have worked with me very well through this thing. Here again, another reason I didn't go more than basically 3 hours away from here since I got back from Tennessee, which was early May. I've been gone frequently, but it may be at a house at 15 miles from here, maybe a house at 3 miles from here. So I could get back quickly, I could come help Dad, I could go to game night still if I wanted. But anyway, it's been quite an interesting year this year. So please don't fault me because I've gained a little bit of weight. I hadn't told you that specifically yet, but you can see it in my face. I got under 200 at my birthday, or right before my birthday, so end of April. And I think I dropped down to 217 today. So that's a good 17, 20 pounds I've put on in the last 4 months. That's what stress will do to you, and that's what grief can do to you. And train wrecks. I've had plenty of excuses, even though I don't want to use the excuses. I want to continue on with this. We had her celebration of life 10 days later here on the campus. It was very well attended. And I'm currently still bouncing between time with Dad, the campground cabins, and local house sits. The front screen on this thing cuts off, so you may see me reach around and have to touch the back, and then it turns it back on. I guess I don't really need it. I just want to make sure it's still recording so I can see the timer running. I don't mind splicing them, but if it will record all at once, that's even better. So here, bullet point 8 is my overall health has declined as my way of eating has suffered, and I just referred to that a few minutes ago. I don't have any real regrets, but on a positive note, I began Body by Science workouts about 6 weeks ago. So let me explain that momentarily. And there will be more videos in the future about it. Body by Science is a book that was written by Dr. Doug McGuff, an ER surgeon, I thought in Orlando, but in reading more about it, I think he's in South Carolina actually. But he also owns a Body by Science facility, and the concept is your brain doesn't know if you're running from a hyena or if you're running on a treadmill or if you're jogging up the hill in front of your house. So the science has shown that you can get a full body workout if done correctly, which is what Body by Science does, in 20 minutes a week, and then you need a full 7 to 14 days to recover before you do another one. Dr. Mabry had suggested I get on this program when I was a patient of his in Texas, so that's been over 2 years ago. And it took somebody in Dr. Chafee's Patreon group to tell me how to find the website that would show me all the people that practiced it in this general area. So I found one, I bought 12 sessions, and I finished 6 of them now. And it is working. I'll go into that in more detail in a video strictly about that. But that's very much a positive. And then, so now we're going to go, oh, there goes the screen. It'll be time to move forward with a new and improved version of my plan. Well, what was my plan, you may ask, since I'm reintroducing myself? My plan was to give up my job 2 years ago and spend time with my parents in their golden years, to be available to them for a situation like we just had. So I have no regrets that I did that. That was kind of part of the plan. But now that Mom has passed, I need to tweak the plan because Dad is in relatively good health and he lives at a senior community. So everybody around here has rallied around. He's already been back out at golf. I mean, it's been a month since Mom has passed and I still haven't gotten a video done. But the people here have taken him golfing. He's gotten in with the men's group. They go every Tuesday. And he plays games 4 nights a week. In fact, that's where he's at right now. I was walking the W&OD trail this morning and I started making a video, but I was having to hold the camera because GoPro, you got to buy all the attachments separately. So I'm using old clasps, which means I can't have it on a regular tripod. It needs to be like on a cell phone clamp, which is a little awkward when you're having to hold it. My thumb was getting in front of the lens and all that. So anyway, I just said I'll do it tonight when he's at game night. So that was the original plan. So here's the new plan. With Mom's passing, I feel I have more freedom to move about the country or the world. I don't have to stay within 3 or 6 hours. I was basically trying to stay within a day's drive of here, so about 8 hours. Even though I did go to Denver, I knew I had to go back to Texas in October, so that's still part of the plan. But let's see here, what do I have here? I'm still going to be doing house sits between now and Christmas. They include, I think, 2 in Tennessee, 1 in North Carolina, and one in Texas. All of them will be driving, and they will, excuse me, keep me pretty busy from September 2nd to December 19th. I will go to Texas and back in 3 months instead of 3 days each way like I normally do. But I will also use the cabin pass somewhat in there. I have about a week between the first one in Tennessee and when I have to be at one in Texas, which is a former client of my photography company. Thank you for your support. And I'm also considering going to a low-carb conference in Louisville, Kentucky, October 6th through the 8th, called Keto Palooza for Louisville. Keto Palooza, maybe. I don't know. I haven't completely decided on that. It's 2 or 3 nights. And then I might go to a campground outside of Nashville, or one in Texas. It doesn't really matter. Or a friend that I've recently, I'll call her a protege in my house sitting, in her house sitting now, has a place that she can stay at a cousin's in Little Rock, an apartment he doesn't really use. So, and it's 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and also I'm invited to stop there. So somewhere between October 6th and October 14th, I will be somewhere between East Tennessee and the DFW area. And then my motto for the rest of 23 is for me. I plan to get back on my way of eating. I plan to get back on YouTube. I plan to talk to y'all much more frequently. Thank you for your support. There is a subscribe button, probably the little picture right over here, I think, or over here. You'll see it on one side or the other. It's been a while since I've done this in the cameras. This is a new camera, so I'm not sure where it'll come up. And there's a thumbs up and a thumbs down below. If you could do that and leave me a comment down below, I'd really appreciate it. I am going to go hog wild, dive into the deep end on this YouTube, mainly in 2024, but I'm getting strictly on Carnivore for the rest of 23. I have a DEXA scan follow-up scheduled near the end of October, when I'm in the DFW area. So that will tell me how much visceral fat I've lost, how much lean muscle mass I have, all that stuff, bone density, all that. It's a good follow-up to one I did in April of 22. I haven't lost anywhere near what I had hoped I would lose, but this year has started out with a train wreck, and it's kind of been a train wreck until now, but now I'm putting the pieces back together and moving forward, and I want y'all to be a part of it. So my mantra for 2024 is going to be more in 24. My initial plan at this point is to basically hibernate throughout the winter with minimal house sits. The people that I have been doing house sits for, I will be glad to continue if they reach out to me. And any friends or relatives that need a house sit, I'll be glad to do for them, but I'm going to be less active on the Trusted House Sitter site because I need some me time. So I'm gonna use a timeshare membership site I have and probably go either a month or 2 weeks at a timeshare, probably in an off-season area like Branson or the beach or Williamsburg. All 3 of them have openings, so I'm kind of thinking I'll do 2 weeks in a timeshare, which is basically a 2-bedroom condo with full kitchen, washer, dryer, everything, where I can concentrate on making videos, concentrate on research, even though since I haven't put any videos out in 6 months, I got plenty of research done. I just need to share it with you. And then maybe go to a campground for a week and then go back to the same or a different timeshare for 2 more weeks. Or I might just stay for a month in the timeshare. I can get them for around $300 a week, so I'm actually planning to spend some money. There's also at least 2 places I need to check out from another group I'm in. One is in Texas, one is in Arizona, that have kind of offered me a place I could live if I wanted to. Need to check those out. But most importantly, winter 24 is going to be for me to get both channels off the ground and making me a little bit of money. I don't know exactly how that's going to work. Of course, I just counted on the ad revenue, but now I'm thinking I might do Zoom calls or get-togethers, or in the carnivore world we call them meat, M-E-A-T, like beef and chicken and pork, that kind of meat, meet up, instead of a M-E-E-T, meet up. But I might try some of those. We'll see. And then, so basically, other than YouTube, you could consider that a job. It is a lot of work, but it's not under somebody's thumb like a regular job. I'm going to actually check out what real retirement looks like in the winter of 2024. Take the time to build a strong foundation going forward, and hopefully actually give you some videos that are valuable to you, and give you lots of the information I've learned from February through August. And then I'll also be documenting house sits and all that on the Chillin' with Chip channel. And I definitely want to get back on a cruise ship. I need somebody to go with me, or lots of people to go with me. Let's try to get a group together. Maybe our first meetup can be on a cruise ship. Anyway, I'll get more info out about that when I actually decide what we're going to do. But you can see this year has been, I've been where I'm supposed to have been. I just haven't done exactly what I had hoped I would do, but I think what I did was just as important. Oh, and I can control this camera off my phone. Let me get that back up so I can stop the video, not having to reach around and find the button. But please leave me a comment, please subscribe, please like the video, and I hope to see you, or hope you see me in the next one. Thank you, God bless. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.